What's up, everybody? God, I could run through a wall.
It used to be. Now, unfortunately, their game's a little weak. They have the Penn State-Purdue matchup this week. Wow.
Woo, that's what a good one. The
I know. And
Boilermakers.
last year, they would have had Tennessee-Georgia. You know it.
See, yeah. It's a
It's
lot. A
sad.
lot has changed. The world is changing, and here we got to adapt.
Absolutely.
Brother Caleb, welcome in. Here we are in week 12, I believe, going into week 12. Here's the Josh and Caleb show of picking college football games and stuff. So that's the official title, I think, of the show.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
We got people coming in. We're gonna let them come in for a second. We'll get started. So we're here on the Twitter and Facebook and YouTube. So make sure everybody, thanks for tuning in. You're following Honorable Mention Sports on Facebook and Twitter and YouTube and Instagram, all those places. That's where we're cranking out some great content. This is our weekly show. Me with my brother Caleb and Drew Bedard is our resident NFL expert and partner in this endeavor. He also has a show on Mondays talking NFL stuff. So make sure you tune in for that as well. So anything stick out to you, Caleb, from last week's slate of college football games?
Well, somebody got hurt in the Tennessee game. Trying to remember who that was.
Yeah, that Nico Hakuna Matata guy.
Yeah, that's what stuck out to me. I think what stuck out to me the most was the line on Saturday morning between Tennessee, Georgia started at 8 points.
Ooh.
Ole Miss kind of thumped Georgia. Tennessee wins. Coach Heupel says Nico's fine, but the line goes to Georgia at 10 points. So Georgia's now a 10-point favorite. Something is sketchy going on with that. That doesn't make any sense at all. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that whole situation?
I don't know. What's the guy with ESPN, Chris, the Bear?
Yeah, the Bear. He's with Fox now. He's, I guess, moved to Fox. Whatever.
He's the Fox. Okay, so the Bears is the Fox, is with the Fox. So now he's saying he's got intel that Nico was concussed, but that seems to be potentially incorrect information. Is that right? We don't think that he's concussed and not playing. He may have suffered something, but not a full concussion. Do we know what happened?
Yeah, it sounds like he's concussed. So Pete Thamel said that today on ESPN that he confirmed a concussion, but Tennessee's expecting him to play. I don't know where that came from Chris the Bear. I mean, he may just want to get into headlines. That would be a really easy way to get into headlines, is to say, I have some unnamed sources, and they say Nico's not playing. Right. But the whole thing's been extremely sketchy. I saw the Florida quarterback tear his ACL and end his college career and go back on the sidelines in that game. Right. You got Nico that goes out of the game, suddenly doesn't even come back on the field, and then Heupel says he's fine. He's got no issues. He's going to be good to go next week. And they just call it an undisclosed upper body injury. My guess is he had some type of concussion.
Yeah.
And they're hoping that he goes through it. What's interesting is the concussion protocol in college football is not nearly as strict or as rigid as in the NFL. And from what I could tell looking at it, I didn't see anything that said they had to have an outside neurologist. So I don't know. It could bring up a very interesting topic to see if he plays or not. But
so didn't need an outside neurologist, which means it could be a mild concussion, which is maybe would explain why he didn't come back to the sidelines. They're like, let's just go check him out.
Well, I mean, in terms of their return to play, policies in the NFL, you have to get an outside unassociated neurologist. I didn't see that when I looked up the college stuff. Somebody might help me if that's incorrect. But as far as I could tell, it wasn't like that. It was very interesting. So
interesting.
Yeah, I don't
know. Scotty Strange here on Facebook commenting, if he got a concussion, doesn't he have to go into protocol and miss this week's game?
No, so there's no time limit that he has to get out, be out officially. He just has to pass the test to come back into the game. So they give every player a cognitive test at the beginning of the season that serves as a baseline, and then they use that if you've had a suspected concussion to determine when you can return to play. That's my understanding. So you could return to play within a day, or you could return to play in 10 weeks. So there's also a lot of leeway there for doctors to make their own determination, as far as I can tell. But it's definitely a situation that has not been very clear or transparent.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it sounds like he's playing. Nico Iamaleava, from what we understand, is playing Saturday, unless they come out and say something different, right? So,
yep, I sure hope he is. If not, we got Gas Pipe, who has the best nickname of all backup quarterbacks.
Gas
Gas
Pipe.
Pipe. Did you know that was his nickname?
No, Gaston Moore.
Yeah, I heard that on the Vol Network in the Hypel postgame show. He said, "We've got Gas Pipe." I was like, "Who is Gas Pipe?"
We got Gas Pipe. Woo! Gaston Moore. Oh man. You know what? We could play. Tennessee could play with Gaston. It'd be fine. We'll be fine.
You think so? Do you think they could
Sure.
win that game with Gaston?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Just give it to
Oof.
Dylan. Give it to Dylan Sampson. Let's just.
Yeah, I'm sure that's what they'll do.
All right. So, welcome everybody to the show. All right. We got Michelle Brown here on Facebook. She's suggested a name for the show. Maybe call it Dumb and Dumber and the Wild World of Sports Show. What now, Michelle? Who's the dumb and who's the dumber? That's what I need to know. I think I know the answer to that. But anyways, so thanks guys for coming in and watching. We got lots to talk about today. We've got picks we're going to make in a little bit. We're going to talk Heisman a little bit. We're going to talk college football playoff rankings. But first, I'm going to go right into here in a second my top 25 rankings I put out every week. It's the only rankings that really matter. If you're paying attention to football, these are the rankings that matter, right? So
they are the rankings that matter.
These are the ones that matter. Here they are. Now I've got hundreds of comments on these, over maybe thousands, of course, across social media about my rankings here. Caleb, I got Oregon. I got Indiana at number 2. The Hoosiers. BYU.
What are you doing, Indiana at 2?
Yeah, what do you like? What do you think about that? You like that?
Oh, I'm struggling with that. Why are they at 2? They're undefeated against who?
They are 10-0. 10-0.
Okay, Army's at 18. Army's what, 9-0?
Yeah, yeah.
And you can't tell me that's a huge strength of schedule difference.
The Big Ten is different than the American Athletic Conference.
It is. It is. What's interesting about the Big Ten in the Associated Press top 25 has 4 of the top 5 teams are from the Big Ten. 4 of the top 5.
Yeah.
There's also only 4 Big Ten teams in the top 25. And it's the 4 in the top 5. So you got the top 4, and then there's just this massive gap that nobody knows what the heck's going on there. So that's why I'm saying I agree. The American Athletic Conference is not the same as the Big Ten. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that.
Yeah.
That's quite the move. How about BYU at 3? You weren't scared about them with Utah?
No, let's go. They still managed to get a win. Again, I will repeat. If you look at who I've got at number 14 and number 19, SMU and Kansas State. SMU's only loss came to BYU. Kansas State's got 2 losses. One of them was to BYU. BYU, I believe, is the real deal. They're number 1 in the Big 12. Again, like those 3 teams are undefeated. Oregon, Indiana, BYU still undefeated. Sure. Army still undefeated, but a cake of a conference. And so at this point, if Army continues to win, if they, then that will be awesome. I hope they do if they're in there and get to the playoffs. But for me, I'm looking at, again, it's the innocent until proven guilty. It's you keep winning. I'm going to put you up there. Ohio State, yeah, they are only they're a 1-loss team, but they lost to Oregon just barely. I get that, but they beat Nebraska by 7 or 10, or they struggled with Nebraska. Indiana whipped Nebraska, so it is so difficult to look at all the different parts. I'm like, look, Indiana looks awesome. They're killing everybody. BYU keeps winning, so I'm putting them. I think Ohio State is certainly a top 5 team. Tennessee, I think, is really good because of their defense primarily.
What about Texas?
Yeah, okay. So that's one that I've gotten a lot of heat about, is Texas being so low. They should be higher up there, like 2, 3, 4, something like that. I don't know. Texas is just. I feel like Texas is beatable. Their strength of schedule isn't awesome either. I want to say it's like 30 something. I don't know that for sure, but it's not what some other teams is, and so I think Texas is a beatable team, and I think A&M might get them. And I think if Texas goes to the SEC championship game, I think there's a chance they lose that as well. So I'm just not
I agree
buying
with you.
in that Texas is as good as everybody says they is. So actually, I'll put them back at 8. You can say the same thing about Penn State, maybe. But the thing is like all these teams really in that kind of 1 through 11 range that I've got there. You can mix and match a lot of those teams, replace them, put different numbers there, and it just is what it is. Bottom line, they all would be going to the playoff in my scenario. Georgia would be in, Miami would be in. So what else? Anything to take away from this?
No, I think so. We got a comment from JR Fortune, frequent commenter on the show. He says that was a very depleted Utah team that BYU squeaked by. They'll get monster mashed in the playoff. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see because I think BYU is going to end up in the playoff. So that's going to be interesting to see how they fare.
Yeah, BYU will be in the playoff, and that's a great point. That was a tough, a depleted Utah team. Utah is a huge disappointment this year. I mean, they are.
They are. Awful. That's too bad.
They won their first 4 games, and then they've lost 5 in a row. I mean, just awful teams. It's terrible. But it's just I don't know. I mean, Georgia is. Everybody's like, Georgia is better. Well, Georgia almost lost to Kentucky. I mean, they should have lost that game. Really.
And if DJ Lagway doesn't get hurt in Jacksonville, I think Florida could beat them in that game.
Florida might have beat them in that. Yeah,
they easily could have won that game.
So fortune, you can say the same about a lot of different teams. I mean, they're squeaking by. Tennessee, great team, shouldn't have lost to Arkansas, a team that we thought was going to be better than they are. Now they're not. They're barely even 500. They might even be 500.
Texas is got. I can't believe what an easy schedule Texas got in the SEC.
Yeah.
I mean, you couldn't have handpicked a better schedule to go through the SEC with.
No.
So
it is a great welcome for them into the SEC to be able to have the games they played. They played Georgia, right? Georgia beat Texas. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's correct.
By 15, I think,
yes.
if I remember right.
Yeah. And they dominated the game. It was. And it was never really in question at any moment. I mean, they went to Texas and beat them. So Texas is kind of in Penn State territory, which is the only thing they have is a good loss. They have not beaten a ranked team. Neither Texas nor Penn State has beaten a ranked team.
That's a great point. And for me, that's that's why they're back there at 7 and 8 for me. We can say, well, Indiana's not beating a ranked team. No, but they are undefeated. Penn State and Texas are not undefeated. Notre Dame still a 1-loss team. I got them at 6. I was getting heat about that. Who's Notre Dame playing? I said, well, they beat A&M. All right, they beat Texas A&M. That's one team, and they beat some other good teams. I got Georgia Tech in there at 24. After they're 6 and 4, but they're a good team. When Haynes King quarterback is playing, they are tough to beat. In fact, they lost. He just came back for this game against Miami. He was just back from injury, and they won. The 2 games that he was out on injury, they lost.
Wow.
I think if he had played in those 2 games, they more than likely would have won, and they'd be looking at like a 7-2 or 8-1 record right now, which would be dynamite. So
I agree.
Everett Lee's got something to say here. Facebook, Josh, how is IU ranked above BYU without beating any ranked teams? And strength of schedule in the 100s. Yeah, the strength of schedule is pretty rough. You're right. It's a good point. Honestly, I just put them up there because I think they play one more game. They're 10-0. One of the first teams to reach 10-0. I think BYU 9-0. So give them that extra win. So I'll give them the spot over BYU. But I would love to see Indiana and BYU play each other. And let me just say this too, and I'll pass it back to you, Caleb. But everybody's like, oh, if Alabama played Indiana, Alabama would crush them. Would they? Well, I don't know.
Yes.
I mean, you think so?
I think so. We're going to find out if Indiana's for real against Ohio State this weekend.
We are. Yes.
Right now, I would say yes. Any of these teams up here, with the exception of Penn State, would stomp them. Yes, I think so. But I want to see it from Indiana this week. I don't care if they win or lose the game. I just want to see if they're competitive. I mean, if they lose a game on the last possession, whatever, that's all fine. There's no disrespect in that. There's no shame in that. But I just want to see if they are for real and can compete with some of these classic blue bloods that we're seeing up here.
Yeah.
But
I'm with you. I want to see it.
Yeah, we need to see it. What about this comment down here from Grady, who says, I believe the Gamecocks will win their last 3 and jump on in there to the top 12. What are your thoughts on South Carolina there, Josh? They've looked pretty good here lately.
They have, and I was not high on South Carolina too early in the season, and I heard about it from the Gamecock fans. Go Cox! I always feel like they were one of those teams that were going to play it close, but could never win big and can never get over the hump. And they've kind of proven that they can do that with the last couple wins they've had. It's pretty exciting to see. I think Grady, I might be with you. I might be on the Cox bandwagon.
Wow.
And they may win out, including a win over Clemson.
That'd be huge.
Imagine a 3-loss South Carolina team somehow sneaking into the playoff. That would be nuts.
I tell you, there's a lot of other teams I'd rather play that are currently in the playoff than I would want to play a 3-loss South Carolina team. Yeah, definitely.
I'm with you. I wouldn't want to play South Carolina right now. I'm glad that Tennessee doesn't play them. Speaking of South Carolina, before we get to the playoff rankings, which is where we're going next, before we get there, I believe Shane Beamer had quite the press conference. It was pretty interesting. You sent it to me. You want to tee it up before we play it?
He's a little disappointed with the Josh Mancusos of the world that seem to not be respected in South Carolina, and he had a phenomenal press conference. If we have, I think we can just take a look.
Yeah, here we go.
That's the mark of a really good team, which we are. The people that do the rankings don't think we're worth a crap, and that's fine. Keep crapping on us. That's the way we like it as well. Don't rank us this week. We're good where we are. We just like to just lay low and work really, really hard and come out and have fun on Saturdays as well. I promised Sir Big Spur I would do this. I'm disappointed that Sir Big Spur's not here. I think it's ridiculous that this is the only place apparently in the SEC that doesn't allow live mascots in the stadium, and that's what makes this league special, is the fact that LSU can have a freaking tiger at their stadium tonight, but we can't bring Sir Big Spur. So Sir Big Spur came over and gave us a send-off before we left the facility yesterday, and I told them I would say hello to Sir Big Spur in the press conference, so we miss you guys. Come on, Vandy, do better. That's the mark of a really –
Come on, Vandy, do better.
Dude, that's the most underrated rant of all time.
That's going to go down in the halls of great press conference rants right there. Come on, Vandy, do better. Let our Cox in to Nashville.
We want to bring a live chicken into your stadium. Like, what's wrong with him, dude?
They would have bring the chicken in. LSU gets Mike the Tiger, which Mike hasn't been able to come to the games for a while now, right? Is this a new thing? I think he's able to now. He's in a cage for one. What do they do with this rooster? They won't let him into Nashville for the Vanderbilt game. Is that what?
I guess not. They said he couldn't bring his rooster, and they took offense to that.
Beamer. I tell you what. Beamer's always got fun stuff to say. I would play football for Shane Beamer.
You would?
Yeah. Would you play football for Shane Beamer?
I don't know, man. There's something about his voice and press conference that just I find it hard to get on with. It's brutal.
Yeah, Mark Castile. Uncle, that's our uncle. Mark.
What's up, Mark? What's up, Uncle Mark?
Oh, Mark. Beamer is such a whiner, I think is what that's supposed to say. Whiner or wiener. I'm not sure. I think it's whiner.
Knowing Mark, I figured it was wiener.
Yeah.
Oh, it's funny.
Yeah. Vanderbilt won't let the Cox in. Beamer is such a wiener. What a day. Okay. So that's a great press conference. All right. So what do you think about what he's saying about, is that fodder for the team? Is that like motivation for the team to be like, don't rank us? Great. Don't rank us. We don't want to be ranked. We want to be the underdog. We want to, we like to lay low. Because Beamer is somebody that lays low. We like to lay low and, just sneak up on people. Is that good for the team? Is that why he's doing that, you think?
I think that's why he's doing it. Well, he maybe genuinely feels disrespected. I think there is some genuine disrespect. He literally opened up his Twitter. He looked at Josh Mancuso's past history right before the press conference, got mad, and then immediately went on that rant. But he's also trying to fire up the team. Kirby Smart does this. Nick Saban used to do this crap. So I think it's a little bit of both.
I agree. Shane Beamer, he definitely checked out my video and he was like, this guy, I got to say something.
It's just time to say something about Josh. That's what he said.
He's probably my biggest fan, I bet. I bet he watches all my videos and likes them from like a burner account,
Yeah, he's going to like them. He likes even more that you go to Clemson and give talks to their team and hang out with Dabo. So it adds an extra cherry.
I may not get an invite to Columbia. That's all
No.
right. Go Cox. All right. Well, speaking of South Carolina being ranked in
Yep.
my top 25, they're also in the college football playoff top 25. We're going to bring up the latest rankings that the committee released last night, Tuesday night, as they do every Tuesday now going forward till the end of the season. Pretty exciting. Not a whole lot of big changes. There's a couple things.
Yeah.
To note, but a lot of the same people at Oregon, Ohio State, Texas, Penn State. They're all still in there. Indiana, BYU, Tennessee, Notre Dame, Miami, the biggest one, dropping to 9 from where they were at like 3 or 4, I think.
Yep.
Alabama's in there at 10. Ole Miss is a new team to enter that, and then Georgia. This is huge right now. If the playoffs were today, and these are the final rankings, Georgia at 12 would be out. They would not be
explain to me how that works with Boise State.
So Boise State would be the G5 conference champion that would jump and get an automatic bid to the playoffs. And so whoever's in that number 12 spot, if the G5 powered the champion is not in the top 12, they would leap that 12th spot and take it and be in there. And so Georgia would be out, which would be crazy. What do you think about that? If these were today's rankings, these are today's. If these were the final rankings, would you be okay with these?
I don't know if I'd be okay with them. My first thought is I can't imagine Notre Dame coming to Neyland. What an incredible game that would be. But,
yeah.
I mean, we already have some history with Notre Dame, right? The Miracle in South Bend. That they've played each other. That would just be like an all-time iconic game. That was my very first thought.
Yeah.
My next thought was Georgia getting left out. It would be a complete and utter travesty given the schedule that they've played. I mean, the schedule they've played to this point compared to the schedule some other teams have played, that would be a complete travesty for them. I don't think they're actually going to get left out, but if they lose to Tennessee, they might. That is scary.
If Georgia loses to Tennessee, they're done. I don't see a way for them to get in if they lose to Tennessee. It'd be 3 losses. Ole Miss, Alabama, 2 great teams, but the close win over Kentucky and just not looking generally as good as dominant as they have in the past. And with these other teams looking so good, I think they could easily get left out. But this would be the bracket projection. Now the committee does not put out this projection. They put out the rankings 1 through 25. And then this is just ESPN, I think, putting together who they think would be. Because my question was, well, Tennessee's at 8, but they're not getting the bye that Texas is getting. Right now, Tennessee is technically first in the SEC. So wouldn't they get the SEC winner? They would be in Texas' spot number 2, right? They would be.
That's right. If they win the SEC, they get the bye.
Right.
That's right.
So if everything stopped today and we went on, Tennessee would be in that spot. But what ESPN is projecting, they're projecting that Tennessee does not win the SEC championship probably, and Texas does, and so that's why they've got Texas up there. Okay.
Who do you think's got the easiest path? Like, you always look at March Madness brackets with path. I mean, the path I see that's by far and away the best is Ole Miss. They're unlucky that they have to play at Penn State, but then you can get Penn State, who's beat nobody, and you got BYU, who is not a major power school right now at a neutral site. That's the easiest path I see right off the rip. Yeah, maybe Ohio State too.
I was gonna say Ohio State with playing Boise and then going through Miami. I think they would have a decent path. I think Alabama would have a tough path. I think Notre Dame would have a tough path to get through Tennessee and to get through Oregon. I don't know if anybody's going to get through Oregon.
Tell you what, that's the one school I would rather play Texas than Oregon, I think.
Yeah. Okay. Here. So Caleb, what would you say? Let's just pick it. Boise State versus Ohio State. Who wins that game?
Ohio State.
Okay. Notre Dame, Tennessee. Who wins that game?
Tennessee, because they're at home.
Tennessee. Okay. Ole Miss, Penn State.
Ole Miss. You can't take Penn State in a big game yet.
All right. Alabama.
Taking Ole Miss.
Alabama, Indiana.
Oh, that's a slaughter fest. Alabama wins that game.
Okay. So if we take Ohio State and Miami, then play in the quarterfinals, who do you have there?
Ohio State. Buckeyes.
Okay. Tennessee plays Oregon. Quarterfinals, who do you have?
Oh, that's close. I'm going to take Oregon. Take Oregon, but you could make an argument for Tennessee, given that they will have played a lot tougher schedule and will have come through some battle tested things that Oregon won't. But I'm going to take Oregon.
Okay, all right. So Ole Miss then against BYU.
Ole Miss,
and then Alabama and Texas. That'd be a great game.
Golly,
who
I'm
you
going to take
taking?
Bama.
Taking Bama. Okay, so in your projection there, we would have Ohio State, Oregon, Ole Miss, and Alabama.
Yeah.
In the semis. So Ohio State, Oregon rematch, which I talked about last week, would be, I think, a tough game for Oregon to beat Ohio State twice in 1 year. And I guess, they may meet in the Big Ten championship again, right?
Yeah. Oh, that's the thing. Yeah, you would assume they would. As long as Indiana gets beat by Ohio State, and now if Indiana wins, they're in. That would be cool.
Yeah.
But you would think so.
So Ohio State, Oregon, and then if you have Alabama, Texas, Alabama, Ole Miss rematch. Is that did you pick Alabama or Texas?
Alabama. So Alabama. You'd have an Alabama and Ole Miss game right there. Whew.
That'd be good. I think I'd be taking Ole Miss in that matchup, and I'd be taking maybe Ohio State over. You could end up with an Ole Miss Ohio State national championship. I mean, you could end up with an Oregon. I mean,
it's awesome. That's what it is.
Be a blast.
This is awesome. Yeah.
I love it. All right. Jeremy says, let's go to some comments here. Texas over Alabama. I think that would be possible. What else we got? Glenn, the bracket projection is guessing at conference winners, hence the differences in the rank versus bracket. Right. So if you might have a 7 ranking, but you might be number 2 in the bracket based on, on how they do that. But good stuff. Why does this is Brett? He's a regular to the show. Brett, thanks. Why does Bama keep being given more chances? What was that, Caleb? What do you think Brett's question means, and what's the answer?
Yeah, I think he means that they got beat by Vandy, and they got 2 losses. So I don't know. They've also played a tough schedule, and they've had some good wins, especially the way they beat LSU was eye-opening. Eye-opening on both ends. It was eye-opening for LSU, but also gave Alabama a lot of hope.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah, that was shocking to me for LSU to lose that. But I picked LSU to win that game, really just based on the fact that it was LSU at night, Death Valley at night. I thought, okay, that's going to give them the edge, even though I think Bama's a better team. I was like that, but it was not. I mean, it was awful. It was a bloodbath, and it was embarrassing for LSU. Brian Kelly should be embarrassed, and a lot of people are saying he's on the hot seat, or he doesn't win the big games, and I mean, what do you think? Is Brian Kelly on the hot seat?
So, I've talked to some big LSU fans this week. He's on the hot seat. They want him to be, but he's got a 10-year contract that's worth just a ridiculous amount of money. So I think there's some serious struggles in terms of what are they going to do if they don't pan out. I don't know. Brian Kelly did this same thing when he came from Notre Dame. He beat up on Temple and everybody else, and then big games he would never capitalize on it, and that's what they're doing right now. But whatever they did, I've never seen an LSU team in modern history look that bad. I swear I've never seen one get just physically beat down like that. Yeah, that was a rough deal. That really brought questions to that program.
Yeah. What about Garrett Nussmeier? What do you think about him?
Where's he at?
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know about Nussmeier. I thought he was going to be the real deal because he'd been there forever. He looked pretty good. He would have been a starter in almost any team that didn't have a Heisman Trophy winner in Jalen Daniels.
Yeah.
I don't know. I got concerned about Kelly when they had Jalen Daniels and did absolutely nothing with it. What they have like 4 losses. You only get a player that wins a Heisman like that. I mean, maybe once every 2 or 3 decades.
Yeah.
And to do nothing with it was just terrible. It was
sad. He was so good. Jaden was so good, and he won the Heisman.
He was so good.
Dude, look at the success he's having in the NFL. And our buddy Drew is a huge fan of Jaden Daniels. Thinks he's maybe MVP, and he's awesome. He is awesome to watch. I had the privilege of meeting Jaden, hanging out with him at the College Football Hall of Fame. It was at the Davey O'Brien Awards where he won that award. And great kid, and hope he just continues to have success. So I want to pivot here. We got the rankings we just went over. one of my favorite commentators, and he's with CBS and with is it 24/7? I forgot. Josh Pate. I love his commentary on things. So he has a really interesting video that I want to show here as to what could happen if you had multiple SEC teams with the same record and how that would play out. This is kind of his hypothetical. So we'll try to go ahead and run that, and you guys.
We got an SEC chaos scenario unfolding. Let's say Texas wins the SEC. Which of these 4 teams is left out? Bama? So let's say Bama goes to Atlanta. They lose to Texas in the SEC title game. They're 10-3. Their best win is Georgia. Well, I'm telling you, they're not leaving Bama out because that would mean leaving the SEC champion runner-up out, and they're not going to do that. So in this scenario, Texas is in because they won the league. I think Bama would be in because they played for the league title. Ole Miss at 10-2, when they beat Georgia, they're in. They're in. There's no question in my mind. Tennessee at 10-2, they beat Alabama. Yeah, Tennessee would be in as well. Georgia at 10-2, beat Tennessee and beat Texas. My answer is Georgia would also be in. Every one of them would be in, guys. In this scenario, my answer is none of them are left out. They're all going to be in. And you know what? They all should be in. As soon as I say that, you're going to come at me and say, well, who are you going to leave out? Well, you'd have to show me the field. But I'm telling you, this is where I just got to be honest and where I get very unpopular. If it comes down to that versus like an at-large team like an Army or Boise gets the G5 nod and Army's out there undefeated, yeah, I'm putting them in over Army. It's not anti-American. It's not anti-troop. It's just pro-logic and understanding I want to see the best teams in the playoff. And I want to see the most deserving teams in the playoff. And believe it or not, it's possible to lose 2 games and be more undeserving than an undefeated from a different level of competition.
Wow.
Big statement there.
Big analysis there from Pate. What do you think about that? You're an Army graduate. You're Army runs the table, goes undefeated, but Boise gets that G5 nod because they win that conference. I mean, is it fair for an Army to get left out at 12-0 potentially, or even better, maybe 13-0 if they win their conference? I mean, in favor of a 10-2 Alabama or Ole Miss.
So I think he's right about they're not playing anywhere near the same level of competition. Like that is definitely true. That is absolutely true. I think he's also right where he says you need to see the field. And then he says the bit about Army because he knows that's going to be very sensational, right? You got to see the field. If Army beats Notre Dame in 2 weeks, then Army has just as good of a win as anybody. In fact, you could say Army actually has a win and Penn State has a good loss, right? So you take Penn State's great loss and everybody celebrates what a great loss Penn State has. And then Army's got a great win and they don't give them credit for that. So at that point, I would say, okay, my guess is the Irish would fall out. If they get, like you have everyone has Notre Dame in the playoff now. If they lose to Army, they're out.
They
lost. They lost to Army in Northern Illinois at home. They're out.
So
I think what you'll see is some teams that'll end up falling out, and there'll be a place for them. There'll be a place for them.
Would be nuts to see all those SEC teams in there, but I think would be the right call if it plays out the way he says it plays out. If Georgia beats Tennessee, Tennessee's more than likely out of the SEC championship game, probably.
Well, maybe. It's hard to figure it out. Yeah.
But if Tennessee ends up 10-2, based on the fact they beat Bama, and Bama's in, then they're probably in. It's a great. I guess part of our hope is that all this stuff happens so that it's an easy selection process, and it's not super controversial, I guess. But it is fun when it's controversial.
I guess my point on the whole thing is I agree with what he's saying in terms of Army's not playing the same competition. What would make me upset would be if they put in a team that has a loss but does not have a win over a top 25 team. So all they can hang their hats on a good loss. Right now, you've got Texas and Penn State in that scenario. Texas has to be Texas A&M, so they'll come out of that. And if you have a one-loss team that hasn't beat a top 25 team, then you have an undefeated Army team that has beat a top 10 team, that would be very hard for me to come to terms with at that point.
Yeah, I think that's fair. That's fair to say.
You know,
I like this comment by Glenn here, which is on the screen. He said, so that's another guy talking about ignoring actual results and going with the, yeah, but they're better even if they lost every game. SEC bias, BS. I get that, Glenn, a little
I
bit,
do
which is
too.
why I've got Indiana and BYU up there, because I'm part of the innocent until proven guilty. If you can be a Big Ten team and go 10-0, given yes the competition is not as strong as others, but you're 10-0 in the Big Ten, or BYU, you're undefeated in the Big 12. You deserve to be up there. And I remember last year it was the big conversation was, is it the best teams or the most deserving teams, and that there was a distinction between those things, and that Florida State was deserving to be in the playoff in the 4, being 13-0, but they weren't one of the 4 best teams, and that is so tough. And I guess our hope is that the 12-team playoff helps to solve that problem. But now you're going to have the same problem when it comes to that 11-12 spot, right? Who gets in and who's out? Is it a 10-2 SEC team, or is it an undefeated, Army team?
Yeah, absolutely. I tell you what, Brett, if Tennessee loses to Georgia, they're done. They never get the benefit. So I think Brett has some merit with that comment, because if you look at, they're giving the Big Ten an incredible amount of respect, right?
Yeah.
The Big Ten, like I said, they've got these 4 top teams, and then it just falls into the abyss of the Big Ten.
Yeah.
But they're giving those 4 teams a ton of respect. So it would be very, I don't know. I'm concerned if Tennessee doesn't beat Georgia for that reason. They've got so many Big Ten teams in there that have no chance of really losing after Ohio State plays Indiana. Normally you get Michigan, Ohio State at the end of the year that helps balance it out, but that's not even a game this year. So I don't know. We shall see.
True. And you made a great point earlier about the Big Ten. All their teams are at the top, right? I mean, they've got these 3 or 4 really good teams, and then everybody else is just sort of mid or worse, which is a great point. The SEC, I will say, and I try to eliminate my SEC bias as much as I can. Obviously, I ranked Indiana and BYU over Texas and Tennessee and others. So I feel like I can legitimately say that I don't have that kind of SEC bias. When I look at SEC, the teams that are currently ranked, I mean, I get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, more than half of the SEC, or half of them are ranked in the top 25 of the college football playoff rankings. Tennessee, Texas A&M, Texas, Georgia, Ole Miss, Alabama, Missouri, LSU, and South Carolina, with Vanderbilt being right there on the edge, right, for a lot of people. Even though they're 6-4, they're right there. So that's a lot of power that you have to beat each other up. And so a 10-2 SEC team that has been through the ringer should absolutely have a shot at playing in the playoff, because they will be able to compete probably better than an undefeated team who hasn't faced a stiff competition. So I completely get that argument.
They will. Yeah, they will. And the whole thing's a big if Army beats Notre Dame. I'm not sold that they're going to beat Notre Dame at all. I hope they do, but I'm not sold on that.
I'm not sold on it either, but I'd love to see it happen just for Army's sake. One quick note here, then we'll get to our picks here in a second. Matthew Cheek, I like this. Texas and Tennessee meet in Atlanta for the SEC championship and the battle of the real UT. That would be fun. It would remind me a little bit of 2 years ago when Tennessee and Clemson played in the Orange Bowl, right? The battle of who's the real orange team. And we found out that it was the Vols.
That was a beatdown.
The UT versus the other UT. There's only one UT. I believe it's the University of Tennessee. But Texas, they hook 'em horns. They do, they should give Tennessee the UT part, right? Texas is easy to say. It's like Texas. Like Tennessee is like UT. It's University of Tennessee. Come on. All right. Anyways, one more. This is a great comment here.
This comment from Blake.
Tennessee's playoff fate rides on an 18-hole match between the Mancuso brothers. Who are they picking?
Is this net or gross there, Blake?
I tell you what, Blake, if Tennessee's playoff chances ride on you picking Caleb or I to win in a one-on-one match of golf, you're taking Caleb 100%. If you want Tennessee to go, you're taking Caleb in that. Caleb, am I wrong? I mean, I will defer and say that you're the better golfer and you would win that match.
Yeah, I probably am. As long as I'm not playing Blake, I probably am. So,
well, If putt-putt, though, it's a different story. Okay?
Oh,
I bring the fire when we're doing putt-putt.
do you?
Yeah.
Maybe we should do a putt-putt competition and film it.
I like it.
I
think we should
challenge
do
you
it.
to a match.
Okay, I accept your challenge, and we will do exactly that. So, all right, you guys bank on it. The putt-putt match of the century coming up soon. I gotta bring in one more. This is great, Joel. We got some good comments. Joel saying the Buckeyes going through the juggernauts of Purdue and Northwestern isn't as impressive as beating SEC teams.
I agree.
Love it.
It's
Love it.
crazy. It's just crazy. What happened to that conference? It's brutal.
Yeah. I mean, you're supposed to have USC and UCLA in there making the conference better.
Exactly.
But
Yeah.
they
And
are
look at them.
blowing it. Crazy. So, all right, we're going to pick some games this weekend. It's Wednesday, and I've done a little research, and we've got our picks ready, and we're going to go through them. We always pick 12 games. We'll go kind of quick through some of the first ones, and then we'll talk about some of the bigger ones as we go forward, and that'll be about the end of it. We might talk Heisman a little bit at the end because it's pretty interesting, the guys who got in the race. So right now, we'll just go back and forth. I'll start. First pick, which is, I think, an interesting game, Kansas at BYU, a game that I would have said early in the year would be a good game, a close game.
Sure.
Middle of the season, say BYU is going to kill them, but then Kansas all of a sudden goes in here and they just had a big win. I guess scroll down there if you guys don't mind. I forgot who they just beat, somebody big last weekend. But I mean, is this a trip up game for BYU?
I don't think so. I think BYU got their little scare last week at Utah, and they're a really good team. They have a strong track record of beating some decent teams and beating them solidly. I got BYU all day.
All day. That's okay. It was Iowa State that Kansas upset last weekend, 45-36.
Yeah.
They put 45 points on Iowa State, which I've been saying I think you have too all year that Iowa State is overrated. They've been at the bottom of my top 25 when they were high in other people's top 25, and then I dropped them out a long time. I mean, I think they're overrated completely, but still a good win for Kansas there. But I'm taking BYU as well. No chance that Kansas, I think, even gets close. I think BYU kills them.
Yeah, I agree with you.
All right, next pick. Go ahead.
Yeah, Baylor at West Virginia. Who you got there?
Baylor at West Virginia. Interesting game. I think we're picking this just because this is a game that the winner becomes bowl eligible, as I like to say. So
that's how they say it in West Virginia.
That's how they say it in West Virginia. Bowl eligible. We're go Mountaineers. Country roads, take me home to the place. West Virginia wins this one at home, I believe. Baylor, they've won a couple decent games. Again, they're in the Big 12. When they've won like a decent game, it's usually not somebody that's that great. But I'm taking West Virginia to win this.
Yeah, me too. I'm taking West Virginia at home. Did you see in the NFL game in Munich last Sunday, the crowd started singing Country Roads?
They did, yeah.
That was awesome.
You know why? Because it was Machine Gun Kelly, the artist who was a rapper who now sings, has got a new song out that's to the tune of that, but the lyrics are a little different. But it's a great, catchy song. Let's look at this real quick. Baylor and West Virginia. So Baylor, last 3 games, Baylor's taken out Texas Tech, Oklahoma State, and TCU.
Woo.
Not huge wins, but good. I mean, good victory.
Solid wins, though. Yeah,
for them. West Virginia took out Cincinnati and Arizona, but they lost to Kansas State, Iowa State. It could be a great matchup. So, I'm riding with the Mountaineers. So it sounds like you are too.
Yeah, I'm riding Mountaineers. Moving next, we got Utah at Colorado. Deion Sanders' team's coming on strong. There was a big talk on Monday on ESPN. Said they were thinking about Deion going and coaching the Cowboys, but we'll leave that there and talk about the Utah-Colorado game.
Wow.
But the point is, Colorado's coming on strong.
Yes, they are. I'll give my pick first. Utah at Colorado. I'm taking Colorado for sure. This is a game that was projected to be a great matchup.
Yeah.
And now Colorado is a 10-point favorites, and Utah has just been the biggest disappointment of college football. I don't know why everybody was that high on them to begin with. I knew they were going to be a decent team, but look at this. Look at those 5 L's right there on the screen. BYU, Houston.
Ouch.
They lost to Houston, TCU, Arizona State, who, by the way, Arizona State 7-2, and
Whoa,
hanging
how about that?
around. Yeah,
How
hanging
about
around. Utah is just garbage. Colorado, that offense is rolling. Even their defense is stepping up. I'm taking the Buffs to win even more than 10. I think they cover that spread. They win by 15 or more.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is. I think Colorado covers that spread. Utah is going to be out of gas from that emotional loss of BYU. That was their chance to save their season. Their chance to save their season was to beat BYU. That game is so special in Utah. It's so important to the people of Utah, and not winning that game, I think they're going to be out of gas. And then Colorado's the total opposite. Colorado is catching fire and actually learning how to play decent football beyond just having really strong athletes. So, yeah, I got Colorado all day.
Yeah, love it. You know what? They're out of gas there in Utah. They could use old gas pipe, Gaston Moore.
They could use gas pipe. Yeah.
Lighten them up.
If Nico plays and we can loan him gas pipe, maybe I'd give him a different a chance.
Give him a chance. Yeah. Brett's in here in the comments saying he's so sick and tired of hearing about Deion Sanders. I get it. I'm with you. I understand, Brett. There's a lot of hype around Colorado, a lot of talk. They're flashy, and the hot shot stuff gets on my nerves terribly. I cannot stand all the hot shot stuff. But they're winning. They're playing pretty good football. I think they're probably too highly ranked in the current polls. I got them barely making. They're like 25 in mine. I think because I think they would get beat by most of the teams that are in front of them. So we are 3 for 3 in our picks here. All of it. We got BYU, West Virginia, Colorado. Here's one. Could be an upset alert for Kansas State. Arizona State at Kansas State. I just talked about Arizona State being 7-2. So is Kansas State. But Kansas State comes in with 8.5 points in their favor, and the matchup predictor gives them a 75% chance of winning just about. So that I'm going to roll with Kansas State because it's a home game. Otherwise, if they were playing out in Arizona, I might give the edge to Arizona State. Arizona State took out, look at that, UCF, Oklahoma State, Utah, Kansas, But, Kansas State, they're one of those teams that they're like right in the middle. They kind of control their own destiny. They could potentially win this game, win out, go to the Big 12 title game, upset BYU, and end up in the playoff. Or they could lose to Arizona State and their season burns down in a fire. So, but I'm taking Kansas State to keep going to 8-2 here.
Oh, give me the upset. I'm taking Arizona State. I think they can do it. I'm not sold on Kansas State. I think they got some weaknesses. I'm taking Arizona State. I love it.
I like it. I like that pick. I thought about it, but I didn't do it. I'm playing it safe. I've learned my lesson. I've got a little wild last week. Went like 5 and 7. I did pick Ole Miss upset. I picked that one.
You did pick that one good. That was the only clip we showed on our social media pages. We just went straight to your one win and replayed it.
That's right. I control the social medias around here, and that's what we're showing. All right, so who's next?
Oh, let's see. We got. Oh, I love this one. Clemson at Pitt.
Golly, let's go.
Narduzzi's. That's a big game. Holy moly, that's a big game.
Yeah. Well, you want me to pick first?
I'll pick. I'm going to take Clemson on the road. I'm going to take Clemson on the road. I'm scared of Narduzzi because that's a really good Pitt team. I know it is, but I think Clemson has got a better roster, and Clemson is going to bounce back. Like, Sweeney is still a really good coach, especially when it comes to in-game and motivating players. You can criticize him for lack of the transfer portal and lack of NIL, but at this point, both teams got the rosters they got. I'm taking Sweeney to win that game.
I agree. I think Pitt has been good all year, but I think they were just they weren't lucky, but they were just kind of rolling there and having some good fortune, and then they met SMU, their first biggest challenge. They played Syracuse was a bit of a challenge, I guess, but SMU is a good team.
Yeah.
And they got beat pretty solidly, and then they went on to lose to Virginia after that. So I think Pitt, 7-0 or 8-0, whatever they were. Now they've lost a couple games. They're 7-2, and a good matchup. This is a game I'm excited about watching. It's a noon game. But I'm taking Clemson Tigers. I'm taking Dabo. I'm taking Cade Klubnik. They got a lot of talent there. They're going to pull
Very
together.
good.
Good win against Virginia Tech last week for them. So, I'm taking the Tigers, man. Let's go.
Dude, here's a crazy scenario for you. What if Clemson wins the next 2 games, loses to South Carolina, but then wins the ACC championship game and beats Miami?
They're in.
And they get automatic bye too. They get an automatic bye, and they'll be 0-2 against SEC teams, but it'll be a 3-loss team, and they'll be in.
And they'll be in. That could, and they might get their lunch eaten in the playoffs. I don't know if Clemson's a playoff team. That's what's so interesting about you win your conference, which the weakest 2 conferences in the Power 5 are obviously the ACC and the Big 12. So the champions of those conferences may not be able to compete with the 2nd, 3rd, 4th place teams in the SEC or the Big 10. So interesting. All right.
Agreed.
Here's a game that bears some weight, actually. It's Tulane at Navy.
Yeah, big. This is a huge game. This is a AAC championship implications here. American Athletic Conference. Oh, man, this is a big game. Tulane is favored in this game, which I'm kind of surprised about. I'm surprised Tulane is favored. But I'm going to take Navy. Because the teams in the American Athletic Conference has struggled to deal with the offenses run by Army and Navy. And I think we'll see that level out as they continue conference play through the years, but they've really struggled to adjust to these option offenses. So I'm going to take Navy. Navy's is a little different. It's not traditional option. I get that, but I'm still taking Navy.
I like that pick. I'm going Navy as well. And while we got the screen up right here, this is perfect because look at Tulane's last 5 victories here. Temple, Charlotte, North Texas, Rice, and UAB. All right.
Rough.
They won big on some of those, which is great.
They did.
So they did. But they've got 2 losses, one of which came to Oklahoma, a team that has struggled quite a bit. Navy, on the other hand, they beat USF. They beat Charlotte as well, even bigger than Tulane did, and they beat Air Force. But their losses there to Notre Dame and Rice. Now, Tulane beat Rice. Navy loses to Rice. I mean, who knows? Every Saturday it's different, and they lost pretty big to Notre Dame. But I'm going to take Navy as well. I want to see. That's probably picking with my heart more than my head because I want to see a really big Army-Navy matchup. And I think it being a home game for Navy, Tulane comes in.
That helps.
Listen, USF, not a terrible team. USF can play ball sometimes, and Navy got them 28-7. So I'm rolling with the midshipmen, and then we're cruising ourselves to an Army-Navy AAC championship game.
Love it.
Which would be pretty interesting. So
that would be bizarre. Yeah, absolutely.
We're about halfway through our picks. Thanks, guys, for watching. Make sure you're subscribed on YouTube to Honorable Mention Sports, and you're following Honorable Mention Sports on Twitter and Facebook and all the social media so you can get more great content. I'm still blasting out these streams on my channels as well, so you guys can catch it there. But make sure you go follow over there at Honorable Mention because that's where eventually these streams probably won't be coming from my channel. So we want you to be able to watch there as well. So thanks for checking in. All right, Caleb, what's our next pick?
Yeah, so Nebraska at USC. Why did you even put this game on here? That's what I want to know. What is this?
Nebraska's got a chance to get bowl eligible here. USC, is a train wreck. But I feel like this could be a close game. I mean, they got USC at 9.5-point favorites. ESPN bet does.
No.
And look at the matchup predictor. 82% in favor of USC. That's wild. I'm taking USC. I'm taking the Trojans.
Are you?
I am. I think Miller Moss is going to show up and throw that ball all over the Coliseum. And USC at home going to get it done against Nebraska. Nebraska's on a losing streak. They just lost to UCLA. I mean, UCLA, they couldn't beat an on-campus protest. And here they are, beating Nebraska. So,
well, they have a lot of on-campus protests, so we know they ain't beating those.
They can't beat that. I'm taking USC to maybe in a close one, but to win this game against Nebraska and pull the 500. USC getting the 500. Let's go. Go Trojans.
Wow, how about that? I'm going with old Brandon over here in the comments says Nebraska. I'm taking Nebraska. I'm going to ride with Brandon. we're taking the Cornhuskers. I know they hadn't looked great, but I still respect the way they played Ohio State in the Horseshoe. Yeah, that's their stadium, the Horseshoe.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna ride with Nebraska. The Cornhuskers, they're gonna go into California and husk some corn down there.
Gotta get that corn husking going.
Yeah.
Have you seen Nebraska's mascot, Herbie the Husker? Herbie the
Yes,
corn husker. He's a weird
that's a
looking
good-looking
guy.
guy. Yeah, he
Yeah.
struggles, dude.
It is.
He's
It
definitely
is.
not. He's not gonna be good in Los Angeles. He does not fit in
No.
well in Los
He's
Angeles.
going to be out of place in Los Angeles.
Definitely.
Wandering the streets of Los Angeles,
He needs to get a tan
Yeah.
for Los Angeles.
Just walking down the sidewalk, drinking milk in downtown LA. Just, what am I doing? So, all right, next pick. All right, we got the last 5 here, some good games.
Big games here.
Oregon at Wisconsin, big game, I guess. It's not really. Oregon is, 2 touchdown favorites, but it is a bump on their road to an undefeated season. Wisconsin has, been up and down all year. They're 5-4. They're hanging around a little bit. They beat Northwestern and Rutgers and Purdue and that big gauntlet of a schedule they've got there in the Big Ten.
I mean, that is awful.
Yeah, they lost to Iowa though. Wisconsin did 42-10. I don't know. They kept it somewhat close with Penn State. It's just I don't know. And over here, Oregon is just ripping people to shreds. I mean, obviously, I'm taking Oregon 100% to go on the road up to Madison, Camp Randall, and just absolutely destroy the Badgers.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm taking Oregon. I wanted to say this was going to be an upset. Like that's a very underrated hard place to play.
Yeah,
but it still comes down to the team on the field. And if where you're playing doesn't matter if the team on the field just isn't as good. And Wisconsin's just not nearly as good. So taking Oregon, I would not bet that game. That line scares me a little, but if I had to, I would still take Oregon to cover. So
the spread makes you nervous, but you would take the money line for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I would not bet this game, but if I had to, I would take Oregon to cover the spread, and I wouldn't even fool with the money line because it's minus 750.
Because you'll make a couple pennies there. So not worth it. Look at those stats there. I love on Oregon side there. Dylan Gabriel with was it 2,800 yards, 22 touchdowns. James and Johnson, all those yards and touchdowns. They just an offensive powerhouse. They're fun to watch too. They're fun to watch.
They are.
Even when they make mistakes, they come back, which is great. It's the mark of a great team is they may turn the ball over. They come back and they are hard to beat. So Oregon, man, Sco Ducks. We're both taking Oregon. Okay. Caleb, who's next? We've got 4 games left.
At Arkansas, at Arkansas.
Yeah.
Who do you take there? It looks like, wow, this is apparently not even a game, according to ESPN Matchup Predictor, which I have no idea how that works, but sure.
I don't either. They're the experts, supposedly.
Yeah, Arkansas is a 13.5-point underdog at home. Noon kick. Who you got?
Yeah, I mean, I'm taking Texas. There's a time in which I might have picked Arkansas to upset Texas, given the way Arkansas was playing earlier in the year, but they just can't quite pull it together. I hate it because I love Sam Pittman. I like that guy. Of course, our boy Addison Nichols, the center there for Arkansas. Want to root for Arkansas to win, when they're playing. They obviously have a signature win against Tennessee, but I don't think they can handle that Texas offense for one. I also don't think that Arkansas's offense is going to be able to do a lot on Texas. I'm looking for like a 28-17 type of score. I don't know. It's not going to be kind of big one way or the other. I feel like just kind of a normal sized win, but Texas goes in there and gets the win in Fayetteville.
Yeah, I think so too. My heart wants to pick Arkansas because boy, Tennessee needs Arkansas to look a little better. They need to look better in the playoff committee's eyes. Maybe not anybody else, but that loss is really holding Tennessee back. But I don't think so. I think you're right. It's going to be a competitive game in the first half. Texas is going to pull away in the second half, be kind of ho-hum, and that's that.
Yeah. Going to be fun. Another game that I wouldn't think it would have been a big game to pick, but we're going to do it. LSU at Florida.
Yes, sir.
I mean, LSU coming in only 4-point favorites down there. I don't know if Lagway is playing. I should know this before we talk about it, but
but maybe somebody in the comments can help educate us on Lagway here. He dressed last week, but he did not play. But he was an emergency backup as needed, and that the whole game comes down to whether Lagway is. Not only does he play, but is he capable of moving around? Right.
Yeah.
if he can play and move around, I'm taking Florida.
Yeah,
but they can't. I mean, they can't move the ball with that poor kid from Yale. That's the third string quarterback. They literally can't move the ball at all.
No, they can't. I mean, the kid from Yale had no intention of playing quarterback at Florida. He just wants to play at Florida. But he was like, "What? I'm in the game now. I wasn't gonna.
Yeah.
I didn't want to. I just came over here to hang out."
If you could draw up a more stereotypical Yale quarterback grad transfer, I don't know if you could have put a more perfect look to a guy that came from Yale and walked in a Florida football team.
Yeah. I know it. It's I'm gonna take LSU.
A lot of people taking Florida.
Yeah, a lot of people taking Florida. The upset,
a lot of people taking Florida,
and that's a great pick. That's a great pick.
It is.
I want to do it because I don't know about Lagway status. I'm going to take LSU. LSU's lost 2 straight to A&M and Alabama, so they look rough. And there's a good reason for us to pick Florida in the swamp. But I think LSU, they're going to have to. It's sort of a do or die moment. You can't go in here to the swamp and lose and go 6-4. You just can't do it. So I'm taking LSU.
If LSU loses this game, it's going to get nutty.
I just realized my mic wasn't plugged in. Is my mic plugged in? Can you guys hear me?
I hear you.
You hear me good? Is this better?
Yeah. What are you doing over there? Yeah.
This whole time I've had my mic unplugged. It's just going through the computer. Yeah, what a rookie. That's terrible. Look, I was like, what is this? What's this cord
Come on, dude. What?
This is the cord. Look at this. This is without the mic the whole time. I was doing that. And then here I am. I plug it in.
You sound like you didn't have to tell anybody.
How's that sound? That's so much better.
Wow. Okay. It's a little better.
I need somebody to blame. Who's the dog's fault? He's distracting me.
Oh man.
Let's go back.
All right,
real quick, guys, if you don't mind. I think we had a couple good ones there.
A lot of Florida comments. A lot of people think Florida's going to win this game.
Look at that 1, 2, 3 picking Florida.
I'm with Florida too. I'm going to ride with Florida officially.
Okay, you're rolling with Florida. I like it. I think I'm going to roll with
Florida.
LSU. Despite every time I pick them, I think they lose. So.
What they retained Billy Napier. What do you think about that? I mean, you said great. Before you like it.
I do like it. I think that the AD and Napier are tied together there, right? So AD is like, I got to keep you around because if you go, I go, and I don't want to go. So you're staying, and I think it's good. I think we're at a point now. The coaching carousel cannot handle people moving every few years, because how can you build a program if you just got a revolving door of coaches? I mean, we saw it at Tennessee. This guy,
we started it. We started that.
the OG coaching carousel.
We are the OG of that.
People and it's frustrating. Tennessee brought in Lane Kiffin. He was gone in 1 year. That was his doing. But then, then Dooley came in, then Butch Jones, then Jeremy Pruitt. These are all bad hires. And each one of those hires came in after the university, after 3-4 years, was like, well, this isn't working, so we're going to need to move on. In the end, was it the right decision? I mean, probably, because Tennessee got a great coach in Josh Heupel. But was firing Butch Jones the right deal? I don't know. Butch Jones did pretty good at times. Could he have stayed on and kept it going? I don't know, maybe. But my point is that Billy Napier now needs a chance. Give the guy 6 years to build something. If you can't do it in 6 or 7 years, then he's not a good coach. And I know Florida's like, well, I don't want to wait that long. We want to be good now. Well, I mean, who's going to come coach at Florida right now? I mean, you can coach anywhere and be competitive. So I don't know. What do you think?
They did a good job keeping him. At first, I thought he was toast after they got crushed by Miami.
Yeah.
But their team has showed some signs of being really competitive. I mean, again, we said it before. They had Tennessee beat. If Tennessee doesn't have a crazy strip on the goal line, they've got Tennessee absolutely beat in Knoxville. That would have been a massive win. They had good chance of beating Georgia if they don't have some injury, some unlucky injury issues.
Yeah.
It was bad timing that they announced him staying and then got waxed by Texas. They might have done that on purpose, really. But, I mean, I don't care who your favorite team is. You go to Texas with a third-string quarterback, you're going to get waxed. Like, there's not a team in the college football playoff that's not getting waxed with a third-string quarterback at Texas.
Yeah.
So they got a lot going. They've got Lagway, just like Tennessee did with Nico. They've got Lagway. locked in to a really nice NIL deal. They're building around him, and they've got a ton of young players that are a good core that are around him. And so I think they think if they can keep it, that they'll be okay. So I like the decision. I do. It's probably crazy as a Florida fan, but I like it.
Yeah, I like it too. I'm into it. Okay, 2 more picks. Caleb, who's next? I'm excited about this one.
Oh, Missouri at South Carolina.
Woohoo! Go Cox. I'm not picking against South Carolina. Missouri is the luckiest team to be 7-2. I mean, they
stink.
They're the worst 7-2 team out there. And I mean, I can't wait for South Carolina to give them the boot, get them out of the top 25. South Carolina moves to 7-3, moving on up. And give me the Cox. This game's is it William Bryce Stadium in Columbia? Yeah. Oh gosh, Missouri, they might kill them. I mean, look at this. Carolina's like a 14-point favorite or something. I mean,
yeah, and it's deserved. Carolina's going to kill them. Missouri is not a good team. I don't know what's going on with them and where this hype comes from, but they are not a good football team. South Carolina's going to win that game through and through. Shane Beamer, and then he's going to send you a personal letter to tell you about it, or mention you in his press conference directly.
That's right. I'd like to thank Josh Mancuso for beating on us all year long until we finally won. And he's like, yeah, no, I love the Cox. I love South Carolina. They're great.
That's what he's going to say. Keep beating on us, Josh.
Keep beating. So many jokes we cannot use in our show right now. So the game of the week, not just for us because we're Tennessee fans. Yeah, but the game of the week in college
football. This is the actual game of the week.
It is. College game day is going to be there. This is Tennessee at Georgia. 8.5 points in Georgia's favor. Matchup predictors got them at 61%.
It's up to 10 now. You can see on ESPN right here.
Yeah, look at that. Yeah, look at that. The spread is 10. I mean, Caleb, go first. What do you think is going to happen?
Yeah, God, it's a scary game. If Nico plays and if Nico's healthy, I'm taking the Vols. And I'm taking the Vols primarily because Georgia has not sustained a drive against anybody. Even against Texas, they got the ball on their own on the Texas side of the 50 with a short field on almost every scoring drive. They can't move the ball. Not only that, Tennessee's defensive line and Ole Miss's defensive line are so similar. And Ole Miss rocked Georgia.
Yeah.
So if Tennessee can do anything as far as putting the ball in the end zone and on offense, they move the ball. Now they just got to stick it in the end zone. I think Tennessee wins the game hands down. If we got gas pipe back there, now I'm getting concerned because there's still a path. There's still a path that Tennessee can win the game with running the ball. Gas pipe makes a couple big plays and the defense just takes over. That's certainly an option.
Yeah.
But I could also see a situation where they get so run focused that they can't move the ball at all, meaning Tennessee used to get so run focused they can't move the ball.
Yeah.
All that said, I'm taking the Vols. It's time. They need to do it. I'm so tired of hearing the thing like, oh, well, Tennessee loses to Georgia, they can still get in the playoff. Like, no, it does. Tennessee needs to go beat Georgia. They've got the program at a point where it's time to go beat Georgia, not for the playoff, but for the sake of beating the other big schools in the conference. That's the most important part. I think they do it this week. Love it.
I love it. And if I'm right, Heupel does not have a win over Georgia yet. Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, this is year 4. So he's 0-3 against Georgia, but he's got 2 wins over Alabama. He's 2-1 against Alabama. He's 2-1 against Florida, I believe. I mean, and those are the big 3 for Tennessee. You got to beat Georgia, you got to beat Florida, you got to beat Alabama. And for Nico to come in as a freshman and have wins over Florida and Alabama in his first year, Oklahoma even. I mean, just winning games that matter, that's pretty big. And I'm with you. Tennessee needs this. Georgia needs it worse, though. Georgia has got to win this game if they want to stay in the playoff hunt. I mean, it's possible they could still get in with 3 losses, but some crazy stuff would have to happen. If we were picking this game earlier, I might go with Georgia because just of how good they have been typically. But the way they've been playing and the way Carson Beck has turned the ball over, and it's not all just his fault either, by the way. There's a lot of things at work there. But the guys, there's a lot of interceptions. They're struggling in that way. Tennessee's defense is outstanding. I think they're going to take the ball away from Georgia multiple times, and that's going to be the difference, I believe. I do think Nico does play. I can't imagine him not playing. And if for some reason he doesn't, I'm still going to give Tennessee a chance because of that. Not taking anything away from Nico, but to an extent, we've got a little bit of a plug-and-play offense where you can put a quarterback in there, and if he can make the reads, if he can do kind of the basic stuff, make some decent throws, Tennessee has a chance because of Dylan Sampson, because of Tennessee's defense, because of throwing the ball up in the air and Dante Thornton, pulling it down. So I'm taking the Vols, baby. Going to Athens and win this game. They are in the dog in Athens this Saturday. The Vols taking them out, moving to 9-1 on the year, ruining Georgia's chances of a playoff, and give me the Vols all day long. I love these sound effects.
I do. I do too. We'll see. Oh man, I hope. The only thing that makes me nervous when Tennessee's on defense is since they've lost Keenan Peely, they got gashed against Kentucky and Mississippi State right up the middle, like right up the center's butt, like right up the middle. Yeah. I don't know what's going on, but Georgia's a much better running team than them. That's a little scary, but I love it. Roll with the Vols.
Go, I like all the Rocky Top for the win. Brandon says, "When do you go Vols?" Thank you, Josh, for supporting the team. Sorry, boys, hate to see it, but Georgia will win.
Ronnie says, "Go Big Orange."
I have no problem with people picking Georgia. I mean, it's very logical for people to pick Georgia in this game. I feel like I'm trying to pick Tennessee as an objective observer. If I was picking Tennessee versus Oregon today, I'd be picking Oregon, right? So I'm not going to be completely subjective just because I'm a Tennessee fan. You got to pick who you think is going to win. I do think Tennessee has a chance to win the game, and if they have a chance, I'm going to go with it, and you are too. So our show is going longer than normal, but real quick, we had a request there from David Miller, Heisman update time. So we'll give you a very quick, before we sign off, Heisman update, just my top Heisman candidates of who I think should be up there. All right. You tell me, Caleb, if you think I am on, in the right here. Now, a lot of these won't be super surprising, but in no particular order. Okay. I've got no order right now. These are just the 7 or 8, however I can't count here. I got here. Bryson Daly, quarterback at Army.
Okay. I like that one.
You got to put him in there. The kid
put him in there.
The kid is like 3rd in the nation in rushing as a quarterback, and he's a great leader. His team is undefeated. He needs to be up there. He's got to be in the conversation. Jackson Dart, quarterback at Ole Miss. Okay. I think the best quarterback in the country, honestly. I think he's got the sweetest throw I've seen. He delivers the ball. I would love to be a wide receiver playing with Jackson Dart. Dylan Gabriel, quarterback at Oregon. How can you not pick Dylan Gabriel to be a finalist right now? I mean, undefeated, great quarterback, can run the ball as well. Travis Hunter, wide receiver / defensive back. I mean, if you're that, 4? Is that 4? That's 4. Okay. I mean, just incredible athlete. Okay. Shedeur Sanders, got to have Shedeur Sanders in there as well at this point. I think he's towards the bottom of my list, but I think he's in the mix. And then I would have Ashton Jeanty, running back at Boise State, just killing people. Dylan Sampson from Tennessee, 20 touchdowns. I mean, 1,200 yards rushing. He's going to be up. I mean, he needs a chance there. And my last 2 here I've got are Curtis Rourke, the quarterback at Indiana, who has been just phenomenal all year. And then Cam Ward, who I think probably is still my favorite at this point, Cam Ward. So those are my
That's who's in the mix.
Heisman candidates. As far as I'm concerned, now this is it looks like Fox Sports has got their Heisman Trophy odds. I don't think there's anybody ranking. It's just simply who the odds are, and they've got Travis Hunter as the best odds to win the Heisman.
So I'm looking at these odds, and I mean, are these up to date odds right now? Because I mean, look at they got Garrett Nussmeier in here. They got Carson Beck in here, and I don't see Dylan Sampson at all, which is odd.
That is interesting. But maybe these are old. Maybe we don't have up to date ones. That could be.
No, they're from today. Yeah, these are the odds from today. So that's pretty crazy. Do we have that graphic that we show against where we had Derrick Henry versus
Oh,
Dylan Sampson.
and Dylan, I don't know.
Yeah.
Do we have that? We may or may not have that. But yeah, here we go.
So this is crazy. This is nuts. Let the viewers take a minute to read this.
Rocky Top Bulletin. Appreciate you guys sharing this stat. Caleb walked through it.
I mean, you can read it right there. He's competitive with Derrick Henry on the year Derrick Henry won the Heisman, but somehow he's not even in the conversation, he's not seriously in the conversation at this point, which is just, it's just hard for me to really believe. If he was playing at Alabama or Georgia, he would be in the conversation.
100%. That's a great point.
Right
100%.
There ain't no question about it. So
100%. I'm with you. Look, 12. I mean, Derrick Henry at this time when he was 1,254 yards, Dylan Sampson 1,129 yards per carry. Derrick Henry's a little bit better in that, but close. But Sampson with more touchdowns, 20
more touchdowns,
17 from Henry. Henry ran away with the Heisman. I mean, it was Sampson's got to be in the conversation. Has got to be in the conversation. Like, look at this.
This stat.
Dylan Sampson's got more touchdowns than Oklahoma, Missouri, Auburn, and Kentucky combined.
Dude, it's time to put him in it. He's got to go. He's got to go to New York. I mean, unless he gets hurt or something, he's got to go to New York. But he's got another awesome opportunity in a prime time this weekend. So if he puts the Vols on his back and Tennessee goes and wins this game, you're going to see some more noise about Sampson. I think so.
Yeah. Miller here is saying to put up Ginty. We don't have Ginty numbers in front of us, but they're ridiculous.
They are ridiculous. They are.
I could probably pull them up really quick. They won't be on the screen, but I'll read them to you. Ashton Ginty right now has 1,734 yards.
That's a lot of yards. I don't even know if you can run 1,700 yards in a 24-hour period, Josh.
No, I definitely could not. No. 1,700 yards, 7.7 yards per carry. That is formidable.
Woo!
And 23 touchdowns. So he still leads. I mean, that is hard. I mean, if Boise State
absurd.
If they make the playoffs, that is it'd be hard not to put him in New York, potentially even winning.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I mean, Travis Hunter doesn't have the stats really as a wide receiver to win the Heisman, but I think it's about him playing both ways and being such a good athlete and being
the showmanship and everything that comes with Colorado.
Right. Correct. I personally, I mean, I think he should be in the conversation, but I wouldn't give it to him. I would give it to Ginty or Cam Ward probably right now.
It's hard to ignore Ginty. I mean, those numbers that's like PlayStation stuff. That's stuff you're doing on the Xbox. That's crazy.
Boise State has one loss, and it's to Oregon, and it was a close loss, almost as close as Ohio State. I think they lost by like 3.
Wow.
Wow. So Boise State's the real deal, and I don't see why they wouldn't win out and end up in the playoff. And now, okay, Brian says, Ginty
I've been waiting on this one.
Have him run against SEC defensive lines. I mean, that's a valid point. And if they get in the playoff, maybe we'll see that. Now the Heisman will be over by then. But would you think Ginty would have success against SEC defenses?
Yeah, he'd have a ton of success. There's every SEC team, including Tennessee, would love to put him in the backfield, even with Sampson. I mean, he would have success in the SEC. There's no question. Now, I get where Brian's coming from in terms of how crazy those stats are. There's a lot of runs in the SEC that would have been 5, 6, 7-yard runs when the hole opened up and he got tackled, that when Boise State plays against some of that weaker competition, he ends up breaking, right? Yeah. He breaks it for a 25, 30, 100-yard, not 100, but whatever run. I think that's a legitimate point. I don't think Ginty would be putting up those kind of numbers in the SEC. No. Yeah. But I think he would be putting up serious numbers just like Sampson would.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, I think if you watch him play, he's amazing. And he's got the stats to back it up. Now, there's other running backs who maybe are just a talent that don't have the stats, but he's got both. Billy Jack here, the current Hurricanes don't have a defense, and Cam has carried the team this year. I think that is
fair. That's true.
Fair. He's awesome to watch. And he couldn't pull it off there against Georgia Tech. I thought we might have some kind of Cam Moore miracle again, but still, you can't deny that without him, they would be all the pieces there in Miami, I'm afraid. Julia, please. People forget to take into account the other things the Heisman is about. I think a lot of people will wonder what the Heisman is about. I think it's not clear to a lot of people. Like, is it just about who has the best stats, or is it about, who just looks like the best athlete? Like, what is it? And I think that's a conversation for another day. But it is interesting to think about that, because there are reasons why I would pick some players over other players. Your team has to win, for one, at least. You can't be 2-10, but throw for 5,000 yards and win a Heisman. But there's a lot of factors there. One more question here, Dustin Walters. Is Indiana still in after they get thumped by Ohio State? Only one loss, but strength of schedule is super weak.
I'm taking them out.
You drop them out completely?
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about, we're going to drop Army out because they don't play a good schedule. Drop Indiana out if they can't beat anybody. I mean, enough of them. And I hate it for Indiana. This is their one and only chance, right? But to me, this is their one and only chance.
This is it. I mean, because we're thinking what Kurt Cinetti is going to move on after this year. I hope he stays for a long time and makes Indiana relevant. But I think it depends on, Dustin, how that loss goes. If Ohio State does thump them, I mean, it's just a beating.
That's true.
I would consider dropping them down. If it's
like Oregon, Ohio State.
Oh yeah, even if it's within a touchdown or two.
Yep.
And Ohio State wins, I'm still keeping Indiana in there, just dropping them to 11th or 12th.
I can understand that.
I think it just depends how it plays out. We'll end with this great comment here, Brian Westberg. Heisman should be based on the best name, so therefore Jackson Dart wins. Great name. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you guys for tuning in. Great show, long show, but thanks for watching. A lot of viewers today. You guys make sure you are following us on all the social medias. Honorable Mention Sport. And give us, feel free to donate a little bit right there. We're fan supported, fan driven. Currently no sponsors, but I'm sure that will change at some point. But we appreciate people watching and following, sharing all of our content. And Caleb, you want to close us out here? You got some wise words for us at the end?
No, big game this weekend for the Vols. We're all going to hold our breath with Nico. First injury report comes out today at 8. And other than that, it should be a great weekend of college football. And the madness will continue with the new college football playoff rankings next week. Can't wait.
Can't wait. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week.